Hello VC, what's going on? It's me, Will, and I'm back with a new episode of New Music Update. And actually, before getting started with the new music, I wanted to catch you up on what I plan to do in my channel before the end of the year. First of all, I plan to do at least 2 more of these new music update videos, so basically showing you some concert clips and as well as some records and CDs that I've been picking up lately. And once I do that, I will be caught up all the way till November of this year in my new music update videos. So I will still be behind, but I will be behind only by 1 month, I think. And then after that, I plan to do 2 more videos before the end of the year, which would be year-end countdown videos. One of them will be my top 20 concerts of 2017, which should be up by next Sunday, so a week from today. And then my last video of the year is gonna be the video that I make every year. It will be my top 10 albums of 2017. So yeah, stay tuned for that. All right, let's move on now to the new music update, and this is gonna be so in October I went to a ton of concerts, so I'm gonna have to divide this or split this video into several parts. I'm not sure how many parts it's gonna be, but I'm gonna start with part 1. And October started for me with a really good concert. I went out to see the War on Drugs, and at the Tabernacle here in Atlanta back in the 26th of September. That's the clip that I showed you in the intro of this video. But before that, a band that opened for the War on Drugs was a band called Land of Talk, which I was very, very impressed with. Their newest album is fantastic. I highly recommend that you check it out. Indie rock band with female vocals, right up my alley, kind of like 90s style of music, indie rock. Let's check out some clips of Land of Talk playing before War on Drugs. So yeah, that was Land of Talk opening for the War on Drugs. Highly recommend that you check out this band, Land of Talk. They're great to see them play live, and their newest album is excellent. And of course, they opened for the War on Drugs. I'm not a huge fan of the band, but I was really impressed with their performance live of the War on Drugs. Highly technical, a very guitar-driven show. You'll see in the clips that I'm going to show you here today. First of all, the amount of gear that this band has is very impressive because they have so many guitar pedals and so many musicians playing at the same time. It's the best way to show you what this band can do is by showing you some clips of them. Let's check it out. Alright, so now let's move on to some classic pop-punk music, and I went out to see the Queers and the Ataris that went out on tour together. They made a stop here in Atlanta. They played at the Earl back in October 1st, and if you ask me, I never would think that a combination for a tour would ever happen with the Queers and the Ataris, even though they're pretty, both bands are punk rock, or I guess at least pop-punk kind of music. They're very different bands. first of all, the Queers are the kind of band that never sold out. It was always a band that was fairly big in the underground punk rock community. They've been around for a very long time, I think since the 80s, consistently putting albums that were always successful, but never really big enough to be on the radio or anything like that. While on the other hand, the Ataris were a band that, although they started almost like an underground punk band, later on in their careers, I think in the early 2000s, they released an album that was really big in the mainstream. The album that was called So Long Astoria, a very good album, and it had 2 really big singles. Even nowadays, they still play those songs in the radio. So they became pretty popular, but after that album, it was all downhill for that band, and their later releases weren't really that good. So 2 very, very different kind of bands touring together. Ironically, it was the Ataris that was opening for the Queers. So yeah, that was the Queers and the Ataris playing at the Earl back in October. Great, really fun punk rock show. I had a couple of things signed by the bands. First of all, I got the classic Blue Skies, Broken Hearts, Next 12 Exits by the Ataris, signed by Chris Rowe, the lead singer of the band. And if you check out something by the Ataris, get this one. In my opinion, one of the classic pop punk albums of all time. Great album by the Ataris. And this one came out, I think, in 1999 on Kung Fu Records. And I also got a 7-inch single signed by the Queers, or I guess by Joe from the Queers. He signed my single from, well, this one's called Bubblegum Dreams, which has a cover from the Muffs. Great single to have, and Joe is perhaps the nicest guy in punk rock right now. I've met him before, actually interviewed him once before. Super nice guy. I talked to him a little bit. And if you watch my videos, you'll see the video where I went out to see CJ Ramone. And it was really funny because it was in the same venue that I saw him earlier this year. And Joe from the Queers made an appearance at the show from CJ, and he sang one of the songs from the Ramones. And I mentioned that I went to see CJ Ramone, and he was there too. And he told me that his version of the Queers, the cover song of the Ramones, the KKK Took My Baby Away, was actually a little bit better than the one that CJ did earlier this year, which I don't know if I can agree because CJ was a member of the Ramones. But either way, it was really funny that he mentioned that, and really great to see Joe again, and a great punk rock show. And speaking of punk rock shows, I went out again, this one was on October the 2nd, I went out to the Masquerade to see Cayetana, which is a new pop punk band from Philadelphia. So yeah, that was Cayetana playing live at the Masquerade in Atlanta a few months ago. And I would say if you're into the kind of music that I listen to, like indie rock and pop punk music, you will love this band. I highly recommend that you check them out. They're from Philadelphia. They played a lot of songs from this new album that was just released a few months ago, which is called A New Kind of Normal. Excellent album. Again, it might be one of my favorites of the year. I got it signed by the band members after the show. They were super nice. They hung out after the show and they chatted a little bit with the fans. And yeah, I highly recommend that you check out this album. It might be one of my favorites of the year. All right, let's move on to some records for you guys in the VC. I know that you guys like to see the records. I picked up, I finally found this one. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. This is the Smashing Pumpkins with Adore. And this one came out originally in 2000. This is the reissue that came out a few years ago in 2014 on Virgin Records. Again, one of my favorites of all time. This is a must-listen record in my opinion. The best by the Smashing Pumpkins, again in my opinion. A lot of people say that Melancholy is the best by the Smashing Pumpkins. I disagree. I think this one is way better. This is the reissue that came out just a few years ago, and it's still sealed. I haven't opened it yet, and it's gonna stay open at least for the near future. I will open it eventually, but for now it's gonna stay sealed because I have plenty of copies on CD. Actually, I have 2 copies on CD, and I also have the original version on vinyl too. So I'm fine with those copies at least for now. All right, next record I also picked up. This is a record store pickup. It's Linda Ronstadt with Living in the USA. In my opinion, again, one of her best. And what's funny is that it's also sealed. And as far as I can tell, this is the original copy. It doesn't have any barcodes or anything. Or it could be also like an early reissue of the album. I'm not really sure. It's kind of like cut a little bit here in the shrink wrap, but as you can see right there, it's still sealed, so you can tell that the album has not been pulled out yet of the sleeve. And I'm gonna keep it sealed for now at least. I think it's eventually gonna have to open it, but as far as I can tell, this has been sealed since they came out in 1979 on Asylum Records. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it sealed at least for the near future. Really glad to add this one to my Linda collection. All right, let's move on to another concert, and this is something that usually doesn't happen to me, but I actually was invited to a secret show. So the Eagles of Death Metal were playing in town here in Atlanta back in October. It was on October the 6th. They were opening for Mastodon, which is a pretty big band here in Atlanta. And Jesse Hughes, which is the singer of the Eagles of Death Metal, he played a secret show, kind of like an after show here in Atlanta. So yeah, that was Jesse Hughes of Eagles of Death Metal playing live at the in East Atlanta at the secret show that he played after the Mastodon concert back in October of this year. And it was really cool to be part of this secret show because, well, again, I have never been to one of these after party concerts before, but it was at a very small venue. It was actually at the restaurant, so it was very intimate. You could get very close to Jesse when he was playing. He played just a few songs because he didn't have his full gear with him, and he didn't have his full band either. Some of them were cover songs, a couple of songs from the Rolling Stones, so you could tell that he's a big fan of the Rolling Stones. And he also played a couple of the big hits from the Eagles of Death Metal. which is a fantastic band. If you haven't checked out the Eagles of Death Metal, it's kind of sad that they're kind of getting known because of the big shooting that they had back in, I think it was a couple of years ago in France, in Paris. They had the terrible event that happened over there and the shootings at the concert. But besides that, the Eagles of Death Metal are an excellent band. If you get a chance to see them, I highly recommend that you check them out. And yeah, it was really cool to be part of this concert. And something funny happened with the logistics of this after party show, where initially they were supposed to have the full band playing at this the secret show after the Mastodon concert, but they had some issues with the record label or with the band. Something happened and the only one that could come was Jesse, but he actually ended up riding his bicycle from the Tabernacle in downtown Atlanta after where the Mastodon concert was, all the way to East Atlanta to play at this after party show. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with Atlanta geography, but it is a long ways to go in a bicycle from one place to another, especially the way that the city is designed. It's not very friendly for bicycles, but he did it, and it was really cool that he did it because the show was really fun to watch, especially in a very small venue. All right, so that was the secret show from Jesse Hughes, and now let's move on to some, or actually I picked up one CD, and if you watch my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of Green Day. I had to pick this one up. I own all of the records, all of their singles on CD. I had to have this one for my collection. This is Green Day with Greatest Hits, God's Favorite Band. And this one came out just a few weeks ago in 2017 on Reprise Records. I kept the hype sticker right there. This is the new Greatest Hits album from Green Day. It has the biggest hits all the way from Kerplunk all the way to right now, I guess, to this year, because they had the songs from Revolution Radio. And again, I had to add it to my collection because I have all their albums on CD. I did not pick it up on vinyl. I might eventually, but for now I'm fine with a CD copy. It's really cool. It has lots of really cool artwork. The title of the Greatest Hits album, very creative. It comes in from the show that they played at Stephen Colbert, where they had kind of like this little skit where they had God introducing the band, and they called it the favorite band of God. So it was really cool that they named it after that, and they had lots of really cool artwork and lots of really cool pictures here in the booklet of the CD. I don't know if the record comes in with all these pictures, but it has pictures from all the eras of Green Day, all the way from when they started back in the late 80s or early 90s, all the way to current times, all the way to Revolution Radio. And they did have another Greatest Hits album that came out back in the early 2000s, but it didn't cover all the new albums, of course, so they had to come up with a new one. This one covers all the way up to even includes one song from the trilogy that came out a few years ago, and 2 songs from Revolution Radio, which came out last year. And it has 2 more new songs. One of them is Ordinary World, featuring Miranda Lambert. That version of the song is terrible. Did not listen to that. It's absolutely unnecessary to have Miranda Lambert singing a version of Ordinary World. It's not good. The original version is so much better, just with Billy and the guitar and the vocals. That version is absolutely unnecessary. You don't need to have that one in a Green Day CD. But the real new song, Back in the USA, is excellent. It might be one of my favorite Green Day songs from the last few years, maybe of the last decade. Definitely highly recommend that you check it out, this Greatest Hits album, just because of that song. Besides that, I'm okay with the track list. They have a pretty good combination of all the new songs. Of course, they had to put in more of the songs from the recent albums, because they already have a Greatest Hits album that covers all the previous albums. So I'm okay with the track list. You can see it right here. You can click pause so you can look it online. Again, check it out, Greatest Hits by Green Day. Alright, so the battery in my camera actually ran out, so I had to redo this part where I was going to show you the 7-inch singles that I picked up at the record store. Let's start off with the Ramones. This is their single for Carbona Not Glue, backed with I Can't Be. And in case this single does not look familiar to you, it's for a good reason. This is a bootleg copy. It's actually a completely fake copy of this single. I looked it up. It doesn't exist either on Sub Pop or in the Ramones website. It's a completely fake copy of this single. It's funny because it says edition of 500. I'm not sure exactly how many they printed of this single, but it's a counterfeit copy of this of the single of Carbona Not Glue. But yeah, it's still really cool to have because it sounds great and the packaging is great. It came in with lots of really cool stuff, which I'll show you. First of all, the color vinyl is really cool. Yellow vinyl with the blank labels. It should be the same. The first hint that this is a fake copy of the single. Came in also with a nice sticker with the artwork from Rocket to Russia with the pinhead and the rocket. And also came in with a nice little insert with a comic strip story and the lyrics of the songs with some additional artwork. And it says here Sub Pop and the logo of Sub Pop with Sub Pop number 666, which is completely made up. It doesn't exist anywhere in the Sub Pop website or in the Sub Pop catalog. And it has the names of all the band members here too. So that make it look really official, but it is not. It is a completely fake single. Again, I'm still fine with it because it sounds great and the packaging is really cool. And the comic strip is actually really funny. It's the story of this couple, and she's kind of tired of listening to the noise rock music from the Sub Pop bands, and she just says that I'm tired of listening to all these Sub Pop bands. I want to go ahead and listen to my old Ramones records. And the guy kind of threatens her and says, hey, you have to listen to Sub Pop. It's the cool thing to do. Really fun story to read here with the comic strip. So yeah, I'm fine with this copy, even though it's a completely fake single from the Ramones. All right, last but not least, one more 7-inch single that I picked up. This is Sebastian Pop with Too Late, and this one came in a few weeks ago in 2017 on Fat Possum Records. And this is Sebastian Pop, of course, of Tommy Stinson, his side project of The Replacements. And this one is featuring Nicole Atkins. I'm not familiar with her at all. And there's the back. So the new album from Sebastian Pop is excellent. If you haven't checked it out, I made a video about it a few months ago. It might be one of my favorites of the year so far. And this song is definitely a B-side from the album. If you want to check out something by them, definitely check out some of their music on the studio albums. This one is just okay. I'm glad to have it and to add it to my collection of Sebastian Pop. But it's just an okay song, I would say. Black vinyl with the custom labels on Fat Possum. So yeah, I'm still glad to add it to my Sebastian Pop collection. Alright guys, that's actually it. That's all I have to show you for today. Again, I'll be back very soon with another new music update, as well as with my year-end countdown videos that I will do in the very near future. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.